Hi folks. So the quickening of our times, the pace of our times that we live in is just sometimes I don't even have the words for it. But I'm sure for many of you, if not all of us, in fact, are experiencing this how would I say, so much going on that it's hard to take stock at times. Okay, now I mean that on many different layers and levels, if you will. But just kind of to give an example, I met up with my friend Michelle the other day. She's a single woman in her mid-40s, I would say, and we speak every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks, maybe once every year, I would say that. And we speak for about a few hours and we catch up, okay? And she was just telling me all of her news, and she mentioned that she went away, out of town for a weekend 2 weeks ago. But yet when she was telling me about that, she was saying, well, it doesn't even feel like 2 weeks ago. It feels like months ago, okay? And she was trying to even recall sort of the experience, because she felt that she went to sort of a retreat, if you will, place. It was a massage and a little bit of yoga and things like that, and a bit of meditation or whatever it was, and she was trying to recall the experience, and it seemed for her like it was almost like it was a dream, that she had a dream. It never really happened. It's more like a dream. And she felt quite unnerved about sort of placing it again within her timeline, within a reasonable duration of time, like saying it does feel it was 2 weeks ago by a calendar date, but by experience it feels like not only a dream, but it feels like a hell of a long time ago. And not only that, but to try and recall the experience for her was rather difficult. And I can fully relate to what she's talking about. I can fully well relate. And there's nothing wrong with Michelle's memory, okay? And I don't think there's anything wrong with my memory. I just think that there's just so much going on. And that's one thing. There's so much going on the material realm, okay, in a way, on all realms, folks, on all dimensions, okay? Because what I'm also trying to say is that it's one thing when you are paying attention in life and you're being mindful. There's more of a depth to it. There's more of a richness. There's a much more information that you can pick up on. I mean, for example, I've been thinking about doing a sort of a documentary, or just talking about Vanilla Sky, doing a bit of research on the movie Vanilla Sky, like I've done on The Truman Show, and I've done on Groundhog Day, I've done on The Matrix, and probably others that I can't think of. But I've been thinking of doing a video for it, and when I've watched Vanilla Sky now, there is just so much more information that I'm picking up on. So much before of meaning that I missed out on. It's huge, folks. Like every scene, there's just so much to take in. Not just from maybe like a psychological or philosophical or whatever, maybe what the movie's about, but just the acting, just the scenery, just the people itself. Like, you just feel that there's so much more. I'm just taking in so much more. And folks, it does happen. like you've watched a movie once or twice, and then a few years later you watch it again with a new insight, with more growth that you've had, and you look at the movie and it's like it talks to you completely differently. I mean, you see so much more. And so that's what I'm saying, just cutting back in. So on the one thing is that we're paying more attention, we're feeling in the deeper and richer experience of life, we're picking on up a lot more information and data that before was just going into the subconscious. We're paying more attention, so there's a lot more happening, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. And so what I'm saying is that that's one level, folks. That's the internal that's going on, okay, for more people that are paying attention, right? But even for those who aren't really paying attention, there is still so much more going on in their lives. There's so much going on in everybody's lives, no matter on what level they might be holding, spiritually, consciously, psychologically, whatever it may be. You know, there is just so much going on for everybody. Okay, so that's another thing. So first there's a lot going on internally, and there's a hell of a lot going on externally. And, you know, this is what I started discussing with Michelle. And she was appreciating it. She said, yes, I see what you're saying. And what was interesting, you know, we're talking about, I said to her, you know, I did a video the other day. I mistitled it. I titled it, I can't remember. I titled it about shame. Is it potential of shame that holds us back? And that wasn't the right title for the video. Well, it was okay title, but the video was really about appreciating and noticing how you've grown and how you've developed and how you've changed. You know, what has changed about you? Like, I spoke about the fact that I will think very much so that I was very held back by shame, and now I don't have that much shame anymore, and I'm just appreciating that. I'm taking stock of that, you know. That's what the video was actually about, but I mistitled it. Anyway, that's what I was saying to Michelle. I was saying that for myself and for you, it's hard to, you know, this is something else. I'm saying a hell of a lot here, folks, as per usual, and cutting it down into 20 minutes, which is just unfathomable. Anyway, so I said, okay, Michelle, like, so have you noticed? And then we started speaking about her own change and whatever it is. And anyway, by the end of her own growth, and I was pointing things out to her because I've known Michelle maybe now for about, I would say, 8 years or so, and we've been friends here and there, on and off, and whatever it is. But now we've been more on than off, I would say. And so I said, and I was pointing things out to her, how she's changed, and she's just like, I had no idea. All of this was very overwhelming for her. I mean, not only the fact that she realized that, you know, she couldn't recall her retreat that she had 2 weeks ago, and how long ago, you know, basically what we're doing is we're paying attention, we're being still, we're being present, and we looking at things from a bird eye view. So what I'm saying is that, so we're looking at the one hand, how far long ago, or how, you know, it feels so strange that I'm saying that her experience of the retreat was 2 weeks ago, but it felt like months ago. It felt strange for her that she can't even actually remember the experience and what she took from the experience. And not only that, okay, I'm just giving an example, but also that we're sitting, and now I'm bringing to light to her, and for my self-awareness, to how much she's changed, all right, and about how much I've changed. And all of this is just like bewildering. You know, she's sitting almost like jaw on the floor. So what's going on? You know, she sort of begs the question. She's like, so there is just so much going on. I said, there is so much going on, we have no idea. And so we spoke about a lot of these phenomena, and you know what, we started speaking about 6:30 in the evening. Before we even went to the kitchen to make a cup of tea, it was 9:30. We literally only thought maybe an hour had passed. We both looked at the clock and we were like just amazed. And so I think one of the things for Michelle, and especially for myself as well, was that how we are losing touch, if you will, with our own experience a lot of the time. And that's a sacrifice almost that's needed to be made in the times that we are living in, okay, because there is just so much going on. In other words, it's like as soon as something has happened and it's over, it's gone, okay, and there's very small time to reflect on it, because we're already moving on to the next thing, okay. So for Michelle, having this retreat, right, she didn't, you know, she arrived back Sunday evening, okay, she was there from Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening. Monday morning she wakes up and she's going to work, right, so she is not able to digest or register, you know, what it meant for her, that experience, because she's having to, you know, now get on with the business as usual of things. And you can be sure she's not talking about it to any of her clients, or, you know, she's a optometrist, so she's not talking about it to any of her patients, like, oh, I had a retreat and this is what I experienced, and I had this inner journey, and I had this sort of moment of peace and stillness and this deep moment of reflection. You know, she's not talking to anybody about that, right? And also, she hasn't got that many people in her life, I think, that she can really deeply reflect with on this level. She has me. But then again, you know, we only meet every 2 weeks. And again, there's so much that's happened that we only really skim the surface of things. She'll only tell me about certain experience. I mean, you know how it is. You see a friend, you meet for a cup of coffee or whatever it is, and you speak for maybe 2-3 hours, and you say a lot, but there's still so much more to be said. There's so much more of the experience that there is to be had. Like even now in these talks, I could speak for hours, okay? But I don't also do so because, for many different reasons. But also at the same time, I don't want to speak for hours every day, and I mean, I don't know if I could, but even now I could, go for some time. But the thing is that when I'm appreciating, saying why I don't, well, okay, that's maybe something else. But one of the things that I'm trying to take for myself, because there is so much going on, it's like, well, what do we do about this? How do we manage this? How does the biology, the psychology, the physiology, how do we maintain this? How do we keep up? And how do we take what's important, I'm saying the most relevant of the experience, and leave the rest behind? What is the highest of teachings that we can take and leave the rest behind? Because we don't have the pleasure now, for most of us, and so much going on, to actually sit and take all of it in, and paying attention and be conscious of all of it. So what am I saying? Let's say I'll give you an example. I'll go to a family dinner, okay? Not my favorite of things. And with my awareness now, I can see so much more. Wow, just within 5 seconds of somebody speaking, of whether it's their tone of their voice, whether it's their body language, what they're saying, I can pick up so much more of their emotion, of where they're coming from. Are they in fear? Are they insecurity? Are they confident? What all of these attributes, and I can pick it all up, and I can see like within conversation whose voice is louder than somebody else's, who wants to control the environment, who's not really involved, who's really maybe going, we're all sitting at the table, maybe somebody's going through a bit of a very hard day, an emotional time, but they're not talking about it, and you look at them in the eyes, and you can see that there's something going on. Maybe, that's my aunt, and she may be arrived for lunch, and she just had a fight with her husband, and you can see that there's sort of bad vibes between them, but she's sort of suppressing that, and you can see that there's some kind of energy there that's a bit, sort of disjointed, or whatever it is within it. She's not comfortable, she's not present. Let's say my aunt, or whatever, my uncle. You can see that. You can see so much information. You can just see even how a parent speaks to their child, maybe my brother to his child, You can see the relationship and the dynamic within a couple of seconds, okay? And this is information that I couldn't see really before. I mean, talk about 10 years ago, there's no ways that I would be able to decipher or diagnose to my own self, like, what's going on here, what's happening, okay? Not just on the surface of things that I'm talking about. So my point being is that, well, what do I walk? So I can walk away from that meal, and I can spend probably days digesting all of it, looking at all of it and seeing all of it. But it's too much information. It's too much information. Just like when you go on Facebook, it's like you cannot go onto every one of your friends if you're still on Facebook. I know a lot of people have been quitting lately, which is a good thing, I think. I mean, each to their own. But like you cannot every day wake up in the morning and go to every single one of the profiles of your friends and go to their timeline and see what they've been up to. It's just too much information, and it's too irrelevant. Okay, it sometimes can be very useful, but most of the time it's absolutely not. You can go into YouTube. How much time you want to spend on YouTube? How many videos you want to watch in one day, in one sitting, in 1 week, in 1 month? How much? No matter how much you want to watch, there'll never be enough for you. There will be always more, and you will never be able to finish it. Even for myself, keeping up with the people that I'm subscribed to, it's impossible. It's impossible. I just cannot do it. And I've spoken about this before. And so what I'm saying is that we need to become discerning, and we need to become selective of that which we are carrying with us, that which we are paying attention to, that which is the most, again, to find out what is the most significant, what is of the highest priority as well, okay? What is the most highest priority to be learning, to be taking away, to be experiencing, to be reflecting on, okay? To be meditating on, all right? So, okay, so coming back to Michelle, right? After we realized the time was about, just after 9 o'clock in the evening, I think 9:30, whatever it was, she just said, listen, I think I really just need to go home and just sit on my bed and think about all these things that we've been saying. Like, she was a bit unsettled and anxious about the fact that hasn't been paying attention to her experiences and what's going on, and also her story, and also her levels of growth. Okay? Because we started speaking about her ex-boyfriends, and we said, she was, and she needed to, because there was a potential boyfriend now on the scene that she sort of didn't want to, partner up with, didn't want to go through with. And I said, well, why not? And we started getting into all the teachings, all the lessons that she learned from her ex-boyfriends, and why she didn't want to go ahead with this relationship. But she didn't realize why she didn't want to go ahead with this relationship. She wasn't conscious of it. Okay, so that was something else. So what I'm talking about now is that Michelle wanted to really go back and reflect on her narrative, on her story. Okay. Also, what we spoke about was how we conditioned from our upbringing, which we've spoken about before. But again, for her now, and even for myself at times, it's a different level of awareness and consciousness. It's more real. So we got into a hell of a lot of things. She's an Asian woman. Okay. But she was raised in South Africa. She's an only child. So I was speaking about the fact that she came from parents that didn't even speak English, living in South Africa, being Asian, going to a Western school. You understand? We started going into these. You understand? We started going to these things, and it started bringing up a lot of awareness about her own narrative and story. Okay, now I'm saying something else, but she started seeing herself in the bigger picture of things and her narrative and her story. And that's what I'm saying is so important. And that's what I find for myself, is that getting to know, understanding deeper and deeper where you come from, reflecting deeper and deeper on the dynamic of your upbringing and how it's conditioned you, and how it's, and how it's led you to where you are. For good or for better or for worse. So I'm saying a lot of things here, folks, because there's a lot going on. I'm jumping around. So let me just sort of, end off. Is the importance of self-reflection, first and foremost. Seeing where you've come from and seeing where you are today. Seeing who you used to be and seeing who you are today. Do not lose track of that. I remember Terence McKenna mentioned something. He says, if you forget your history, you become schizophrenic. Well, he says, as he was talking about like sort of human beings, human history, something. I don't want to misquote him, but it was something like that. You lose touch, okay, and so the problem is losing touch. That's what I'm talking about. Is because there's so much information going on, and because we don't have time to reflect. And because time seems to wait for no man, as my friend Dan would say, the fact that something happens and then it's gone already by the time it disappears, it dissolves, and it all dissolves, and as soon as it's over, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You folks know what I'm talking about. Something happened a few days ago, it's dissolved already, it's gone. It's vanished. Where's it gone? I'm saying, I don't know, an experience that you had, a walk that you did, a yoga class that you went to, a podcast that you listened to, I mean, yes, certain things stay behind, whatever it is, whatever, but I'm saying it's gone. Whereas before, I think there was in past times we were able to spend more time reflecting on it and talking about it, and still feeling the experience lingering on, You know, not like when you got back from, when you got back from vacation as you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you felt that you had been on vacation. Even, let's say you been on vacation for a week and you just got back on a Sunday, Monday morning, you still felt that you were on vacation. Tuesday, you still felt that, you still remember, it's still fresh in your being. But now, it's like Monday morning, boom, it's gone. It's like I didn't even go away. I didn't even feel like I was on a holiday. I didn't even feel like I took a break. It's like, to almost a degree. And that's what I'm saying, like weddings. You go to a wedding, the next day, boom. It's like, the experience doesn't linger, doesn't stay with you. Things do stay with us more, but even sometimes the passing of a dear one, to depending, not maybe so direct, maybe not a family member, but, a funeral that you did attend or something like that, where before maybe it would sit with you for a bit longer. The mourning process, but now it's like you don't have time, or there isn't enough time, or there isn't enough resources of ourselves to allocate to certain sort of emotional processes or something or other. This is big, folks. We don't have time to process. We don't have, that's what I'm trying to say, I suppose. We don't have time to process what we need to be processing. And that's causing, I think, a massive anxiety. Alright? And so that's my point and where I'm ending off here. He's saying that we need to find the time in meditation, in being still, in writing, in journaling. My good friend Niles wrote a comment. He talks about journaling, writing down, keeping a journal, a daily journal. And I've heard that many a times. Making your story, your reality, your experience real and long-lasting. Okay? And to use your experience, the teachings to have the experience of deep reflection, getting in touch with the self, with you, okay? Getting in touch with you, and so that's it. Allowing, not just letting it all slip through our fingers, because that's what I think is going on. Alright, that's what I think what's going on. And I think for the people that aren't paying attention, right, for the general masses, their lives are slipping between their fingers without them even realizing it. Their kids are growing up faster than they're even paying attention to. The work, everything is just flying past them without even really being engaged or really tasting deeply the experience of existence, and barely even learning from the lessons of life. Barely anything. It's just it's heavy, folks. So you get what I'm saying. I can't really sum it all up, but I think you know what I mean. The importance of taking time, processing, of reflecting, of getting in touch with your experience and your journey. Getting in touch with your experience and your journey. Alright, folks, hope that makes a bit of sense. I don't know. We'll chat soon. Take care.